Folks, buyers hate these kinds of homes. I'll get into that. And then the latest home prices and insights for York region for week ending October 2nd, 2024. Working with one of our buyer clients, they sent me an email of a property that they'd like to go see. And when I pulled up the property and started looking at it, it's a property that I showed a previous buyer about a year ago. Now, the new listing is very different. A year ago, that property was original, clean, neat, tidy, but original. It had the parquet floors, it had original baseboards, original kitchen, but it was neat, clean. And at the time, the buyer I was working with, we were looking at it and we chose to buy something else. It's now about a year later. The property's back on the market, this time with updates. And the new buyer clients flagged this as a property they're interested in. And so I have a little bit of history with this property because of what I just explained. I saw it a year ago. And I'm looking at the new photos. And it's like, wow, they've done a bunch of work. They've changed the floors, they've painted, they've updated the kitchen. You could see it in the photos. It looks really, really good. And you read the description, it's like, wow, they've done a lot of stuff here. And the price was only a little bit higher than what it was a year ago. That's all questionable whether it makes sense at the, how much more the price would go, but that's another discussion. And so I send the before picked photos, after photos to my clients. They're all excited. We book the showing. We go see it. What a letdown. It's totally, I was almost embarrassed saying, I can't believe they fooled us. I was almost embarrassed to my client saying, I have nothing to do with the listing, but I felt bad bringing him there. Look, the floors, you couldn't see it in the photos, but there was gaps in the floors, and the way they connected to the baseboard, it was just, you can tell it wasn't done by a professional. The baseboards were painted, they weren't changed. The baseboards were painted, but I don't know, somebody's kind of painting and talking to someone else and painting because the paint was on the wall, and even the walls that were painted, you had paint on the ceiling from the walls. The kitchen, the cupboards were painted, so it wasn't a new kitchen. They did change the countertop, but the kitchen cupboards were painted, but it wasn't done. It wasn't painted by a professional. You could see the different kind of shades. It really wasn't done right. The hinges in the cupboards were still the old hinges that were dirty still. Some of them had some rust on them. Man, I can go on and on. It was such a letdown. The photos, description was one thing, and you arrive and look, there's basically no trust now with the seller, and you're wondering, man, like a buyer is gonna have to redo this. My buyers that I brought to, we're talking, well, we got to redo this, redo this. Well, the price doesn't make sense anymore, so we'd be coming in much lower than the list price if they were to buy it. You know what the funny part is with renovations? Even a buyer that would plan to do themselves, if they were to buy, they would on their own plan to do cheap renovations, to do them on the cheap, inexpensive, maybe do some themselves. Even if it doesn't turn out so great, it doesn't matter. The buyer wants to do it as inexpensive as possible. They don't want to buy homes that way. Even the buyer, and I'm repeating myself, that will do themselves renovations on the cheap, on the inexpensive, won't pay for quality. But they know what's quality and what's not, and they don't want to buy homes that way. So there's two takeaways here. Look, the fact that you're doing renos to sell, I'm not getting into that right now. We've discussed that numerous times on this channel. But the two takeaways from what I'm talking about today, if you are going to do renos, quality. Focus on quality. Not, I got to get the whole house done, so I got to do everything inexpensive. But even if it's not in a budget to do the whole house, but do parts, do it quality, because that'll come through in the end. And if you're promoting it on MLS, you're promoting it to anybody, what you see in the photos and the description should match what you see in real life. It shouldn't be a letdown. If anything, if you can get somebody excited online with the photos and description and they go to the home, if anything, they should be more impressed when they're there in real life. That's how you get a good offer. That's how you get buyers excited, not the other way around. Your home should not be a letdown in real life. It should be exciting. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you want to, if you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. There's a link to my calendar here, another one below this video in the description. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. So what's happening in York region? I'm going to tell you. Now, normally you'll see data broken down on a weekly basis, and you're going to see that as we always do, but I'm going to start off with a monthly breakdown. The last full month was for September 2024. I've got broken down. You see here highlighted in black every September, going back to September 2020. So, sales, 459 detached properties were sold across York region for September 2024. Well, last year, 416 were sold. So yeah, we're up in sales for September versus last year. Not by much. The year before, September 2022, excuse me, 512 were sold. So we're down from September 2022, but not by that much. It changes though when we go to September 2021. We sold almost 900 detached. We're this September at 459, big difference. September 2020, almost 1,200. It's 1,100. I was rounding and confused myself. 1,189 detached properties were sold. This is for all of York region. Today, it's 459. So, depending on which year you want to compare it to, we're either up or we're down. Let's look at average sold price. For September 2024, for detached properties only, average sold price is $1,596,000. Well, if we look at September 2022, sure, there's months that go up and down, but hasn't been really a lot of change. It's kind of flat if we look at overall what's really changed. Well, if we compare it to last year, 2023, we're 3.6% lower in average sold price. If we compare it to 2022, we're 4.4% higher today than 2022. So 4.4% higher, 3.6% lower. Not a big change. It all kind of balances out. Here's where it gets really funky when we go back further. Compared to 2021, we are 7.8% lower. But when you compare it to 2020, we are currently sitting at, because we're comparing 1,286 to, sorry, 1,286 to 1,596. We are currently 24% higher than where prices were in September 2020. 24% higher. If we compare to 2019 prices, we are currently 39% higher than 2019 prices. So, generally speaking, if you purchase your house in 2019, your detached property, today even with all the craziness and discussions of where prices are, you are, on average, 39% higher in average sold price. Let's get into our weekly programming here. So, October 2nd, we're going to be focused today on Richmond Hill, Markham, and Vaughan detached prices. We're going to start off with Vaughan. For week ending October the 2nd, 24 detached properties were sold. 24 is kind of normal, actually. If we go back to all the way to June 26, we've sold 20, 23, 25, 26. So 24 is quite normal. There's a couple of weeks where sales came way down, but these are long weekends. I know we got in a big discussion about that. Long weekends, things are a little bit different. But if it's not a long weekend, we've been in the 20s, mid-20s in sales. Average sold price, though, way down to $1,578,000. It is the second lowest average sold price that we've had all year. 1,578 is 12% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 9% lower. And if you look at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, it's up, it's down. We have a couple of weeks where average price went way up and couple weeks now where average price has come down. Let's see what happens over the next few weeks where it's going to kind of level off at. But we said 24 sold, 17% sold at list price or more. That percentage is lower than what we're used to seeing. Listings went up in September from August, then up again September 11th. For a lot of areas, September 11th, week ending, seems to be where we've had most of the highest listings, and weekly after that they've been coming down, and we see it also in the active listings. Active listings were increasing, but this 1 week they've come down a little bit. Months of inventory sitting at 4.9, pretty much a balanced market in Vaughan for detached properties. Here's Richmond Hill. 19 detached properties were sold. 5 were at $2 million or more. Average sold price down a little bit from the previous week. It's now at $1,761,000. 1761, 7% lower year over year. The median price is 1% lower, and both average and median since the fall, since September 4th, seem to be trending downwards. 42% of those 19 sold at list price or more. Listings, same thing I talked about in Vaughan, same things I've said in the previous videos for condos, for detached properties in the city of Toronto. Listings jumped up, and now each week they're coming down. Active listings increased, and now they're starting to come down. Months of inventory sitting at 5.6 months of inventory. Here's Markham. 26 detached properties were sold. 5 of those were at $2 million or more. 26, pretty normal for the fall market. Average sold price, been hovering around 1,675 or something. It's now at 1,683,000, but for the last 3 weeks, we've been kind of in the 1,670s, somewhere in there. 1,683,000 is 5% lower year over year. The median price is 10% lower year over year. It kind of looks like, and I'm looking at now the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, maybe prices are trending down. It kind of looks like that to me. 65% sold at list price or more. That percentage has been increasing, and that kind of throws me off because I'm talking about maybe prices are creeping down, but more and more are selling at list price or more. Listings, you've heard this story already many times. Listings have been trending down. Active listings this 1 week came down from the previous week. Months of inventory sitting at 3.5. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. You're either going to experience a buyer's market or a balanced market. That's the detached scenario for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. Have an awesome day.